The most anticipated video game in human history is destined to disappoint. That's a bold, almost blasphemous statement to make, but what if it's also the uncomfortable truth? We are, of course, talking about Grand Theft Auto 6, the ghost that has haunted the gaming landscape for over a decade. A game so mythic, so legendary before it even has a concrete release date that it has become more than just software. It's a cultural event in waiting, a promised land for millions of players. But today, we're going to strip away the legend and look at the cold, hard reality. We're going to explore the 3 seismic reasons why the colossal weight of expectation, the shadow of its own creator's genius, and the predatory state of modern gaming might conspire to make Grand Theft Auto 6 a monumental letdown. So buckle up, because this is the conversation that needs to be had before the hype train goes completely off the rails. In this deep dive, we'll examine how our own excitement might be the game's greatest enemy, why competing with perfection is a losing battle, and whether Rockstar Games, the titan of the industry, can truly resist the temptations that have corrupted so many other developers. The stage is set for a masterpiece, but the script is written for a tragedy. Let's begin with the most obvious and yet most powerful force at play here, the hype. The hype is not just big, it is a gargantuan, all-consuming black hole of expectation that has been growing for more than 10 years. Think about the context. The last entry, Grand Theft Auto 5, was released in 2013. An entire console generation has come and gone since then. A player who was 10 years old when they first explored Los Santos is now a 21-year-old adult. The world has changed, gaming has changed, and the fanbase has not only grown older, but has swelled to unprecedented numbers. This isn't just a sequel. For many, it's the culmination of their entire gaming life. Add to this the pristine, almost unblemished track record of Rockstar Games. They don't just make games, they craft worlds. They are the architects of digital universes that feel more alive, more intricate, and more compelling than those of any other developer. Their reputation for quality, for pushing boundaries, for taking their sweet, sweet time to get it right, has cultivated a godlike status. So, we have a decade of waiting, a legendary franchise, a developer with a Midas touch, and a global army of fans whose anticipation has been simmering for years, fanned by leaks, rumors, and one spectacular trailer. The sheer level of forensic analysis applied to that single 91-second trailer is a phenomenon in itself. Every pixel, every fleeting NPC, every license plate has been dissected and interpreted, feeding a monstrous engine of speculation. Each fan has spent years building their own version of Grand Theft Auto 6 in their head, a personalized masterpiece composed of their greatest hopes and theories. The game Rockstar actually delivers has to somehow compete with millions of these imaginary, perfect versions. This creates a psychological trap. The prolonged anticipation itself becomes a core part of the experience, and it's a feeling that the final product, by its very nature, can never replicate. The result is a level of hype that no product, no piece of art, no entertainment experience could possibly satisfy. This is the core of the problem. We are not just expecting a great game. We are not just expecting an excellent game. The collective consciousness of the gaming world expects Grand Theft Auto 6 to be a paradigm-shifting, life-altering event. It is expected to be the undisputed best thing anyone has ever played. A game so revolutionary, it makes everything that came before it look obsolete. And that, right there, is an impossible standard. Anything less than literal, world-changing perfection will be perceived as a failure. Is this fair? Not in the slightest. A game should be judged on its own merits, for what it is, not for what a maelstrom of internet hype declared it would be. If Grand Theft Auto 6 launches and is only a 9.5 out of 10, a phenomenal open-world adventure with a great story and fun gameplay, there will be a vocal, significant portion of the community that will declare it a disappointment. They will say, "We waited over a decade for this?" This phenomenon is not new. We've seen it with other long-awaited titles, but never on this scale. The pressure is astronomical. Rockstar is no longer just building a game. They are trying to bottle lightning that has been gathering in a storm cloud for 12 years. And when that storm finally breaks in 2026, if it doesn't reshape the entire landscape, many will say it wasn't worth the wait, regardless of how brilliant the game itself might actually be. The hype has written the check that Rockstar, for all its talent, may not be able to cash. But let's say, for a moment, that Rockstar manages to navigate the treacherous waters of public expectation. They still face another, perhaps even more daunting challenge. A challenge that comes not from the fans, but from within their own studio. Grand Theft Auto 6 is not just following Grand Theft Auto 5, it is following Red Dead Redemption 2. And this is a bold claim, but one shared by millions of gamers, critics, and even developers. Red Dead Redemption 2 is arguably the greatest video game ever created. It is a towering achievement, a high watermark not just for Rockstar, but for the entire medium of interactive entertainment. The last new game from Rockstar was released in 2018. By the time Grand Theft Auto 6 arrives, it will have been 8 long years. That means Red Dead Redemption 2 is, for all intents and purposes, its direct predecessor, the most recent benchmark of Rockstar's capabilities. And what a benchmark it is. The story of Arthur Morgan is a masterpiece of character-driven narrative, a slow-burn, heart-wrenching epic of loyalty, betrayal, and the death of an era. The gameplay was deliberate, weighty, and deeply immersive. But it was the world itself that was the true star. The world of Red Dead Redemption 2 was not just an open map, it was a living, breathing ecosystem. Animals hunted each other, non-player characters had daily routines and remembered your past actions. The weather systems were dynamic and impactful, and every square inch of the landscape felt handcrafted and authentic. It was, and still is, a technical and artistic marvel. The sheer granularity of the detail, from the way snow realistically accumulated on Arthur's coat, to the unique dialogue he had with every single shopkeeper, created a sense of presence that remains unmatched. It's a game that has aged like a fine wine, still looking and playing better than most titles released today. A critical component of that game's soul was its writing and thematic cohesion, largely credited to Rockstar co-founder Dan Houser, who departed the company in 2020. This is a monumental factor that cannot be overstated. Houser was the lead writer on nearly every major Rockstar title, the architect of their signature satirical tone and deep character work. His absence creates a vacuum at the very creative heart of the studio. Can the new generation of writers capture that same magic, that same sharp, cynical, yet surprisingly heartfelt voice? Losing a key visionary is a massive risk for any creative endeavor. And for a franchise defined by its writing, it's a gigantic question mark hanging over the entire project. So this is the shadow that looms over the sun-drenched streets of Vice City. The expectation is not just for Grand Theft Auto 6 to be better than Grand Theft Auto 5, but for it to be better than Red Dead Redemption 2, and to do so without one of its most important creative leads. How do you possibly top that? How do you create a story more emotionally resonant than Arthur's final ride? How do you build a world more immersive and detailed than the American frontier of 1899? It is a truly monumental, almost unfair task. Rockstar has put themselves in a position where they are competing with their own magnum opus. If you think Red Dead Redemption 2 is a true masterpiece and a tough act to follow, do us a favor and hit that like button. Now, while Rockstar has a history of one-upping themselves with each release, moving from the gritty realism and melancholy of Red Dead to the satirical, chaotic energy of Grand Theft Auto presents its own set of challenges. The tone is completely different. The gameplay philosophy is different. While the technical prowess will undoubtedly be there, capturing that same lightning in a bottle, that same profound sense of place and character, in a world built on parody and excess is a Herculean effort. It's not impossible, but the odds are stacked against them. To be merely as good as Red Dead Redemption 2 would be an incredible achievement, but for many, it still wouldn't be enough. It has to be better. It has to be the next step, and that step is off a cliff of their own making. This brings us to our third and final reason for concern, a threat that is external, insidious, and has plagued the entire industry for years, the state of modern gaming itself. For a long time, Rockstar has felt like an exception, an untouchable fortress of quality, immune to the corrosive trends that have diminished so many other beloved franchises and studios. But the question we must now ask is, can they hold out forever? The landscape of AAA game development in the 2020s is a perilous one. The costs of creating a game on the scale of Grand Theft Auto 6 are astronomical, likely soaring into the hundreds of millions, if not over $1 billion when accounting for marketing. That is an investment that the publisher, Take-Two Interactive, will be desperate to recoup, and then some. Their executives have repeatedly told investors they see opportunities to increase recurrent consumer spending, a corporate euphemism for getting players to spend money again and again after their initial purchase. And how do modern publishers ensure a massive return on investment? The playbook is well known and deeply unpopular with players. First, there are the microtransactions. While Grand Theft Auto Online has been a cash cow built on this model, the fear is how deeply this philosophy will be embedded into the core experience of Grand Theft Auto 6, both its single-player and online components. Will we see a push towards more aggressive monetization? Will the game's economy be designed to nudge players towards spending real money, making the grind for cool cars or properties intolerably long to encourage buying shark cards or their equivalent? Rockstar has spent an immense amount of time and resources on this project, and they will need to make that back. Microtransactions and elevated price tags are the easiest path. This leads to the second issue, the price. The $70 price tag for new games is already a reality, but with a game of this magnitude, would they dare push it even higher? Special editions, season passes, early access fees. The opportunities to extract more money from the most hyped game of all time are endless, and it's naive to think they aren't being considered. But perhaps the most terrifying prospect is the launch itself. We have seen it time and time again. A hugely anticipated game, after years of development and multiple delays, finally releases in a broken, buggy, and unfinished state. Cyberpunk 2077 is the ultimate cautionary tale. The hype was massive, the promises were grand, and the launch was a catastrophe that took years to recover from. Given that Grand Theft Auto 6 has already been in development for so long, with reports of reboots and delays, the risk of a messy launch is very real. The sheer technical ambition we saw in the trailer, the dense crowds, complex physics, and enormous world, dramatically increases the potential points of failure. More complexity means more bugs. The pressure from investors to finally release the game and start generating revenue could lead to corners being cut. A buggy launch would be catastrophic for the game's reception. It would instantly sour the experience for millions and feed into the narrative that it wasn't worth the wait. All the goodwill Rockstar has built over decades could be tarnished in a single disastrous launch week. While they can certainly patch it later, as Cyberpunk did, first impressions are everything, especially when expectations are this high. Can Rockstar, the last bastion of "it's ready when it's ready," truly withstand the immense financial pressure and deliver a polished, complete, and fairly priced experience on day one? The modern gaming industry suggests we should be skeptical. So, there you have it. 3 powerful currents all pushing against the success of Grand Theft Auto 6. The crushing, impossible weight of a decade of hype that demands unobtainable perfection. The long, imposing shadow cast by its predecessor, Red Dead Redemption 2, a game that many consider to be the pinnacle of the art form. And finally, the treacherous, money-driven landscape of modern AAA gaming, with its temptations of microtransactions and the ever-present danger of a rushed, buggy launch. This isn't a prophecy of doom. It is not to say that Grand Theft Auto 6 will be a bad game. In all likelihood, it will be a very, very good game. It might even be a great one. Rockstar's talent is undeniable, but this is a sobering reality check. The context in which this game is being released has set it up for a unique kind of failure. The failure to meet expectations that have spiraled into the realm of fantasy. We are all desperate to return to Vice City, to see what Rockstar has been cooking up for all these years. But maybe the best thing we can do for the game and for ourselves is to temper our expectations, to hope for a brilliant, fun, and polished experience, but not to demand a miracle that will change our lives. The story of Grand Theft Auto 6's reception will be written when it finally arrives in 2026. It may well defy all these concerns and emerge as the masterpiece we all dream of. But the hurdles it must overcome are higher and more numerous than for any game that has come before. What do you believe will be the biggest challenge for Rockstar? Will the hype be too much, or will they deliver another industry-defining classic? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our full breakdown and review when Grand Theft Auto 6 is finally in our hands. Until then, let's just hope for the best, but prepare for the possibility that even giants can stumble.